From disintegrating every being and object by simple physical contact to preservation by a miracle touch, today I'll be ranking all the stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable based on their real life usefulness. So jumping straight on to the list, we'll be starting off strong with everyone's favorite cat stand, Killer Queen. Now we all know Killer Queen, the stand of the main antagonist. Now Killer Queen is such a dope stand, I had to divide this into 3 parts. First off, we got Killer Queen itself. What it does is basically it uses explosions. How? Just by simple touch. And with that, in the real world, I don't think you'll need that sort of thing. I mean, you can be a miner, they really need explosives. That is very good, but in terms of versatility and greatness, I don't think Killer Queen gets that. I mean, yes, you can also burn away most garbages in junkyards and whatnot. I mean, that can be useful. So I think it should have a little bit versatility, but I don't think it is that great. I mean, of course, you can be a great homicidal killer with such a stand, but in real life, this won't really take you that far. So versatility is the only thing that I can give to Killer Queen itself. Secondly, we got Sheer Heart Attack, one of the main abilities of Killer Queen. Now, Sheer Heart Attack is a very sturdy stand. I mean, it took and tanked all the punches that came from Star Platinum, and we know how strong Star Platinum is. However, in terms of its use, I'll have to put it one bit down from Killer Queen, because you can use Killer Queen freely to plant bombs wherever you want, but Sheer Heart Attack follows one main simple rule. That is, he's going to follow anything that is the hottest in the room. And for that, it is quite limited to its use. So sole purpose is the best I can give to Sheer Heart Attack. And the last part for Killer Queen would be Killer Queen Bites the Dust. Now this is something else, because Killer Queen Bites the Dust grants you an additional ability, that is to transfer back in time by exactly 1 hour to fix up anything. And with this, Kira was almost unstoppable. That is, Ambulance-kun had to take him down. He got majorly nerfed in his last fight, but that aside, in the real world, gaining an additional 1 hour whenever you can definitely is a godly useful stand. I mean, just imagine, you see your exam questions, you go back by 1 hour, you come back and nail everything. Next up, we got the stand of Shizuka Joestar, Achtung Baby. I'm not sure why its name kinda sounds German, but that is not our point right now. We need to discuss how good of a stand this is in real life, because it grants you invisibility. Now, this is quite something. For information gathering, I mean, why you'll be violating everyone's personal space and their privacy, but hear me out, this can be used correctly in the real world. I mean, this would have a major use, but from what we know, the baby does not have a control over the stand, and that is a major drawback. So you could say in a way that its disadvantages overweigh the advantages we have at hand. So I'll have to put this in no thank you, because honestly I don't want to be stuck as an invincible baby for the rest of my life, and that's just me, honestly. Up next, we got Aqua Necklace. Now you might know this stand from Angelo. And this stand is basically like Jeb from the previous part that we discussed. But unlike Jeb, this stand mainly focuses on destroying its targets from within rather than from the outside, and doesn't really help you at all in the real world. I mean, you can do plumbing, but not as good as Jeb. So I'll have to put this in mediocre, because you're not going to be going far with a stand like this. Next up, we got Hart Father. Now this stand, from the looks of it looks quite weak, but in real life this will be a dope way of using transportation. Just imagine, you can trap everything in a photo, including yourself, and going off wherever inside that photo. You can take off flight and go wherever you want, and as well as yourself, you can trap other beings and objects. So take for an instance, you want to take your car for a different country. This would be something else to have in case of situations like these. Honestly, you can even take a whole plane with yourself to a different country. I mean, you can just become a Boeing 747 all by yourself and gain actually quite a lot of money from that. So with all that said, I'll think that he deserves top-notch tier just for that. Next up, we got Bad Company, and this stand, well, it's basically a pocket army is the best way to put this. You'd have an army, and for protection wise, you can use this stand quite well, but in terms of real life uses, I can't think of any, honestly. I mean, you can do some chores, but the things you can do with this stand is quite limited, as the size of the soldiers are quite small and you're not going to get a lot of things done just with that. I think sole purpose would be a fair evaluation, because you can actually get some stuff done, you know, do some small chores, small time chores, and it is good for protection. So all purpose would be a good fit for Bad Company. Up next, we have Boy to Man, a stand that is quite useless in nature, and here's the reason why. This stand uses gambling, and I guess Araki really loves making stands that are all about gambling. And here's the thing, you gotta play specifically rock paper scissors, because I guess the stand user is a boy, and that's as much action of gambling he's going to get. And with this, you can steal your opponent's ability, but here's the catch, your opponent has to be a stand user for you to steal that stand's ability. So in real life, what are you going to steal from anyone in a rock paper scissors if the other user does not have a stand? In general, there are no drawbacks to the stand. I mean, even if you lose, you won't lose anything in the rock paper scissors. You're not really going to gain a lot from beating someone in rock paper scissors if your opponents are not stand users themselves. So I'll have to put it in no thank you, because it has no use whatsoever. Up next, we have Cheap Trick, and oh god, dude, you're better off offing yourself with this stand. I mean, I don't even need to get into this. If you see this guy on your back, just go off yourself. I mean, you've got no chance of living after that. Just get some help by offing yourself. Next up, we got Cinderella, the real life Barbie maker. I mean, this stand is quite literally top notch. It can turn anyone beautiful or handsome for that matter, and this is very useful. It would give even you a chance of achieving beauty. Next up, we got Crazy Diamond, the stand of the main protagonist Josuke Higashikata. And this stand, honestly, in its physical prowess, speed, and precision, it is second to Star Platinum. And for its main ability, you can fix anything and heal anyone. Does not matter the extent. I mean, if your patient isn't dead, you are going to save them. And even if a whole building gets burnt down, or I don't know, gets into a collision with something, you can rebuild the building in a matter of seconds with a stand like this. I mean, it is definitely godly useful, no questions asked. Up next, we got Mikitaka's Earth, Wind, and Fire. Now, I'm not really sure if this counts as a stand. He himself in the anime claims he's an alien, but this might be something Araki wanted to throw out there just to mess with the readers. Now, for its abilities, you can shapeshift. Awesome, straight away. With an ability like this, you can actually even shapeshift into an alien. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Araki claimed that Mikitaka was just being delusional, was just pulling a prank on everyone. He was just being silly and just shapeshifting the whole time, even though he's not really making the most out of this stand, just turning into a dice. That's one way of, I guess, winning gambling money, so top notch it is. Up next, we got Echoes, and with this picture it's only Echoes Act 1, but I'm going to count all the acts in one place because Act 1 and 2 individually isn't all too great, but considering Act 3, manipulating gravitational force is something that is pretty impressive. And even Act 1 and 2 have their own uses and merit. For Act 1, Koichi uses it as means of reverb, that is continuously just yelling the same word in someone's head over and over again until they gone insane, I guess. And for Act 2, you can put sounds that will come to real life. So I think this is actually really good ability, because imagine you're falling down from a high-story building, and just seconds before you hit the ground, your stand manages to touch the ground first and just wrote squishy, I don't know, bounce off, and you'll actually be able to protect yourself with that. It is actually a great stand in real life, so it has its own merits that I'll have to give. Up next we have Enigma, a stand that uses fear to trap any object or any being. Now this, in comparison with Dios Father, its uses are quite limited, and here's the reason why. You have to find a fear in your opponent in order for it to actually work. And here's the second reason: it cannot fly. Yes, you might trap something in a paper, but it will definitely not fly. But don't forget, you can still carry around things in a piece of paper. So maybe not good as this, but it would still deserve a place in the great tier. Next up we got Harvest, and this stand is incredible. I mean, in the show it literally helped to win a lottery ticket by scattering around and searching for it. Even if you don't win a lottery ticket, you can still get a passive income by searching for pennies. So it will not guarantee you big rewards, but it will still do great. So great tier is the best place to put Harvest in. Up next we got Heaven's Door, and straight up goes to useful tier. I cannot even begin to fathom how great this stand is. I mean, it is a real shame that Rohan Kishibe is not using his stand to its utmost capabilities. This stand can literally change fate all by itself just by writing. And here's another thing, just because of this simple thing of changing fate, I mean, for Rohan it's probably a simple thing for him. Heaven's Door is definitely a godly useful stand. Next up we got Hermit Purple, and in my last video, I decided to put Hermit Purple in godly useful tier because of its main ability of showing locations or whatever you want to see by using electronical devices. But in comparison to what we have on the godly useful tier today, it will have to come down by a bit to top notch, but still nonetheless a great stand to use for gathering information. Up next we have Highway Star, a long range stand that dries up its victims for nutrients, and this stand wouldn't really have a use in real life. I mean, why would you try to suck someone out of their nutrients? Even for personal protection, this stand is not one of the great ones. Because of its long range distance, you can't really take full control of such a stand. So it is honestly mediocre at best. I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't have a use, but it is generally just mediocre at best. Following next, we got Love Deluxe. Now this stand allows you to use your hair every way possible. Every strand of singular hair is in your command to use, and this can be used quite well. I mean, you'd have like additional limbs, arms, legs with just your hair. So I'd say this would have a pretty versatile use due to the fact that you'd have more accessibility. Following on, we got Dios Father's stand. Now this might not actually qualify as a stand. It was a parasite planted by Dio to its servants in order to keep them under his control, and whoever disobeyed him would turn the servant into a hideous creature. Now with this stand, you know you can't off yourself anyway. I mean, Okiasis even tried this stand. You can't really off yourself with a stand like this because you'll regenerate faster than anything. So at worst, the worst I can give is nah. I would definitely not have this stand. If I can off myself before getting a thing like this, I'd be one lucky person. Next up, we got Pearl Jam, a stand that would put Gordon Ramsay himself into shame. This stand would cook you the finest food that is going to heal your body and soul. Without a doubt, it is a godly useful stand. This stand is simply overflowing with potential. Up next we have Rat, and that is with 2 T's. I know, such a creative stand from Araki. And this stand is, you can guess it, is in the possession of a rat. And what it does is basically it shoots bullets that are going to melt your skin, and it will melt all your muscle tissues. I don't think I'll need to do such a hideous thing to anyone ever, so no thank you it is for a stand of this caliber. Up next we got Red Hot Chili Pepper, a stand that gains energy from electricity, and it can also teleport or transport between the said electricity. Now this stand isn't one of the strong ones like Crazy Diamond or Star Platinum, but for its transportation use, you can pretty much put this as a versatile stand for self-protection plus transportation. Following up we got Star Platinum, and do I need to mention why he deserves godly useful stand tier? Super speed, precision, strength, durability, and cherry on top, time stop makes it one of the most fiercest and most useful stands to ever exist. Next up we got Stray Cat, a stand that you can't really control due to the fact that Kira himself wanted to take control of such a stand, but mastering it wouldn't be easy, and from what it does, it shoots explosive bubbles. Yeah, it's got a sole purpose, but you can't really make use of it in full control. So this stand might even end up killing you if you can't really take control. So I'm gonna have to put this in nah. I don't really want to stand like this. Now we got Superfly, and it goes straight off to offing yourself. It is such a useless stand and yet so strong. It can hypothetically beat Goku if he's trapped inside of this. There is no way how dumb and stupid this stand is. I mean, you're better off offing yourself if you got a stand like this. Up next we got Surface, a stand that becomes a doppelganger to whoever touches it first. Now such a stand can be utilized in the real life, but in comparison with Mikitaka's, you yourself won't be transforming, while rather your stand will be transforming, and it needs physical contact for it to work. So it is pretty much a conditional stand. So I'll have to put this in sole purpose because of its conditions, and in comparison it falters with some of the greater stands on the list. I mean, you want to have them and not this. I mean, this is just the second pick, honestly. Now we got everyone's favorite stand, Zahando. This stand is very much similar to Cream in terms of obliterating everything into the void. If Okuyasu had 200 IQ, every enemy stand user would be dead right now, while rather than being all friendly with Josuke. As I mentioned before, in the real world, making things disappear won't be such a good idea, because even if it's a garbage, we can make use of such a thing rather than just losing it forever. But Okuyasu actually made one good use of such a stand, and that is closing the distance between your destination. You can obliterate the distance in order to reach your destination faster, and with that considered, it actually bumps it up to sole purpose, but still, it's not the type of stand that wouldn't be too beneficial to the community or to yourself anyways. And lastly, we got the Lock, and this stand specializes in flabbergasting and gaslighting people and making them feel guilty, guilt tripping them into even the smallest of inconveniences. Such a stand can be utilized quite well. So for the last pick of the bunch, I'd say this is quite a good stand for manipulation. And so yeah, this is all Diamond is Unbreakable stands ranked by their usefulness IRL.